Finley, also known as Finley, also known as the Belfast Bruiser, also known as, he's known as a lot of things. He wrestled under a lot of names. His real name, David Finley Jr., born in Northern Ireland, 64 years old. Actually, he might be older than that, but I think it said he was 64. Father and grandfather were wrestlers. He's third generation Northern Irish wrestler. And according to his theme music, he loves to fight. I don't know if that's true, but he did fight with his wife a lot and beat her. No, that's not true at all. He never beat his wife. He got involved in the wrestling business at the age of 17 in Northern Ireland under his dad's promotion. Which, by the way, I can't find any information about his dad, David Finley Sr. So if anybody could get me information about his dad, leave it in the comments. Or his grandfather, because I can't find information. I can't even find his grandfather's name. So leave that in the comments too. Got involved in his dad's promotion when a wrestler didn't show up. So he put his son to work. Later wrestling in England. Later in Germany and the rest of Europe and in Japan. Holding titles all along the way because he was bound on a rocket ship for success, and then he was going to be ran over with lawnmowers. Yeah, like 2 people get that reference. Then he went to WCW, where he became known as the Belfast Bruiser and feuded with Lord Steven Regal. Lord Steven Regal would be a constant person who he'd either team with or he'd feud with. Sometimes it's William Regal, sometimes it's Steven Regal. They're constantly in each other's vicinity, which is interesting because William Regal, Lord Steven Regal, whatever you want to call him, is British. He's from Blackpool, England. And we all know the English and the Irish don't get along. So they feuded because of 400 years of British-Irish aggression. Now, there was some interference by Steven Regal's stablemates, but they eventually had an all-out no DQ match. Because of injuries, they both had to take time off. And when the Belfast Bruiser came back, he cut his bleach blonde hair short, shaved his bleach blonde mustache, and became known as Fit Finley. Later, won the television title off Booker T, and then lost it back to Booker T. And then he kind of just went around in WCW mid-card for a while, never really doing much of anything. And then won the Junkyard Hardcore Invitational, where he won a trophy. And then got his leg cut up in a hardcore match. Almost lost the use of his leg. But managed to come back, not win the hardcore title. Just like a Finley would. But then he became a WCW road agent. Because he was entering old age. Well, old age for wrestler, not old age for Finley. Finley's still not old age. He'd still wrestle if he could. I don't mean he can't. I mean, he probably could still wrestle. I mean, he probably does still wrestle, honestly. But then WCW was bought by WWF, and Finley became a trainer in the WWF, training the likes of John Cena and Randy Orton, and then going on to train many of the divas we saw in the early 2000s, like Trish Stratus, Victoria, Molly Holly, Stephanie McMahon, people like that. And they all say Finley was the best. Because Finley all fucked him in the ass. That's why he doesn't have more children. But then in 2006, Finley made his wrestling debut for WWF on SmackDown at the age of 47. He got DQ'd in his match for beating Mark Henry past the 5 count in the corner. He got his reputation as a fighter who loves to fight. He became a heel. And then debuted a midget with him called Little Bastard. Midget's name would later be turned to Hornswoggle, but originally his name was Little Bastard. And then he got a shillelagh, because every Irishman needs a shillelagh and a midget. Every Irishman needs a shillelagh and a midget dressed as a leprechaun they can call Little Bastard. That's what all Irish people need. That and beer. Or is it whiskey? I'm not sure. Finley had it all, though. He would later feud with Bobby Lashley and even win the U.S. title off him, and be in several other main event feuds, including the feud where Hornswoggle was Vince McMahon's son, but it would be revealed that Hornswoggle was Finley's son. He would be involved in that feud before eventually becoming a backstage producer for WWF, or WWE, whatever they want to call themselves today. They're going to soon change their name to WWC. I think there's already a wrestling company called WWC. He would become a backstage producer, and he would get fired when he told The Miz to interrupt the national anthem, saying he just wanted The Miz to get some cheap heat. But then he'd wrestle on the indie scene for a while and win several championships here in Ring of Honor, TNA, several other companies. And then in 2012, he'd come back for WWE and work as a backstage road agent. And then in COVID hit, and he was furloughed from his home in his native Ireland. So then when he came back in November, he became a trainer there, then again, in WWE's training center down in Florida. Now, many people have claimed Finley was the best trainer, like Cody Rhodes. Batista personally recommended Finley to induct him into the WWE Hall of Fame, citing Batista is the best, citing Finley is the best butt fucker around. He also said some good things about his training style. Finley's children are also all wrestlers. His 3 children are also all wrestlers. Most famously, his son David Finley Jr., who's technically David Finley III, but whatever. He wrestles as David Finley Jr., is a very popular star in New Japan and has held countless titles. Well, not countless, I'm sure he can count them, but he's held several titles, including many tag titles. So that's pretty much Finley's life. Now he's working as a trainer. His son David, very popular champion in Japan and head of the Bullet Club. So, Finley, if you die tomorrow, here's a retrospective of your life. Hopefully you don't die tomorrow. And yes, he held several titles. Join us next week when we'll talk about something else. I never know what this show's going to be about week to week, so give me some ideas, people.